Welcome back. I'm playing Warhammer 40,000 Battlesector, and today we'll continue on with our Adepta Sororitas review with the new units and the faction rework. I'm always at a loss about whether I should have the explanation of how the momentum works as this first video or end it as the last video going over the command points. I think I've done it both ways. I think it makes more sense for me to make this the first video. That way, if you're totally new to the faction, this will be the first video you see on it, and then you'll understand what's happening with the momentum and why guys are doing more crit chances and why they seem to be tankier the more momentum they get up. So I think I'll just upload this as the first video here and kind of explain it because it was reworked post-patch here. So if you're unfamiliar, I am reviewing every unit on the roster here with the Adepta Sororitas that have had significant changes. I then show an AI skirmish match to kind of show the different units off. Now what I'll do just out of the sake of completeness here is I'll review the momentum mechanic here, and then I'll just cut the video and then show you what happens when you start to use the command point abilities instead of making you watch a match where I just have to farm gaining command point abilities, because there's no reason to waste your time with that. But if you're enjoying these videos, please give my channel a like and subscribe. It encourages me to post more content for you. So the Adepta Sororitas here, they have a faction mechanic called, or in this case trait, called Devotion. And how this works is whenever your unit is taking damage from an enemy attack, they'll gain momentum. And then the damage, the amount of momentum they get is proportional to the amount of damage that they take and how many units are attacked. So theoretically, if you're getting attacked with multiple units and it's spreading the damage out to everybody, let's say there's an explosion of a vehicle and it does significant damage to lots of different models, well then that might give you like 40 to 60 momentum gains per that squad, because everybody on the squad took significant amount of damage, and overall that could mean you're taking like 200 damage to a unit, and so it'll help you get that momentum. Now unfortunately, if your unit is killed, then the momentum has never accrued because it just kills that unit where all that damage was taken to. So it really limits the amount of momentum gains you're getting when they're killing the model. So you want to be able to accrue as much momentum as possible. And the reason for that is how momentum has several different mechanics in this game, which can be a little bit unclear if you're unfamiliar, and the momentum will work differently depending on what faction you're using, because each one has traits that does different things to your unit. So this is the only faction that gets momentum when they're taking damage, so just be aware of that. So you don't want to just be attacking them and feeding them momentum continuously, or you're just gonna do low tier damage and just attacking continuously. You're going to build these guys up with momentum, because as you're giving them momentum, it has the following effect. So every point of momentum that you gain will give you a 0.2% critical hit chance, and so the maximum amount of momentum a unit can get is 100. So that means you're getting a 20% critical hit chance when you're maximized with your momentum. So at times it makes sense to keep that 20% critical hit chance, attack, and then surge, and then attack again, because the first attack will be having a 20% critical hit chance. And if you have a lot of different shots, then that can be a substantial amount of damage that you're doing. Alternatively, as you're gaining momentum, it makes your guys become tankier because you get 0.2% evasion per momentum. So again, at full momentum gains, you have a 20% evasion rate, which helps you substantially to stay alive, especially now that the Adepta Sororitas have been reworked. A lot of units have armor traits, so every time they get attacked, they get a chance of stacking up armor, which will get them at max of 3 stacks up to 1.8 bonus armor. And then there's lots of units that give you the potential to get damage reduction, and so that can help keep your guys alive as well. And so that's the first way you'd use a momentum, is just by passively increasing your units. The second way that you use momentum in this game is you have to choose whether you want to empower an ability or you want to surge. So once you get 100 momentum, what that'll do is give you an additional movement, and it'll then allow you to make a decision, because on your UI action bar it'll say empower or surge. If you surge, it'll use up all 100 momentum and you'll just get an extra action point and allow you to attack again, or use a ability that requires an action point to be utilized. The other option is that you do something called empowering an ability. And what empowering does is, as you can imagine, it empowers the ability. So depending on the ability, it may increase the stat buffs that it gives you. It may make certain debuffs that you're applying to your opponents last for additional times. It can change the cooldown for certain grenades and the Rhino smoke grenade ability. It'll actually give you bonus stacks of your ammunition. The same thing happens with like the blessed ammo. I think each one of those things, when they're empowered, they give you 2 or 3 additional ammo to use instead of just the 2 that you have at baseline, so allowing you to do additional special attacks. So you just have to decide how you want these things to be utilized to help you get the most bang for your buck. Generally, the empowered abilities are substantially better, but other times they're not. For example, the healing trait with the Medicus, or the Hospitaller, I mean, if you're using just the standard heal, then it applies 50 bonus 50 points of healing to every model in the squad. However, if you surge the ability, then it changes it to give healing at 70 to just 1 unit in the squad, but then the following turn it heals by an additional 70. So the empowered ability is better at healing your heroes, whereas the general heal is probably better to use against your low tier infantry, where you're gonna having 70 points of healing is going to be way overkill. So you have to pick and choose how you want this to happen. And then just as their background lore for the Adepta Sororitas, since we're on the screen, it's the militant arm of the ecclesiarchy. The Adepta Sororitas are warriors of a ferocious zeal who devote their lives to the service in the name of the Master of Mankind here. Now, as I'll review here with the command point abilities, it's totally been worked and now reworked, and so now the Adepta Sororitas can effectively use all 3 of their command point abilities with just 1 command point, so you really have to pick and choose which ones you want to utilize. So I will show that here next. Okay, so I have now built up 3 command points here. So unless you're going to give, you know, an extra AP to yourself here, you can't actually use all 3 command points on yourself. But I just wanted to show what each one can do here. So the command, I guess I was supposed to talk to the command points, how this works, because it's not intuitive. So command points are earned whenever your friendly units gain momentum. So that can be either from them getting attacked and getting that passive momentum gains. It can be from you killing the enemy and gaining momentum that way, or when you complete an objective. So you'll get a little bit of momentum every turn when you're getting points allocated on their strategic command, or you're doing the season control. Things like that will gain you a little bit of momentum. The other thing is if your units are killed, then that will allow you to accrue momentum too. So somebody that has a super elite force, unless you're getting lots of kills and building up momentum that way, they can actually have a slower momentum gain than somebody that does what's called a swarm tactics, which is what I'm doing here with my Adepta Sororitas, to just gain a lot of command points. So effectively they get attacked, those units get killed, I get a ton of momentum, or I get a ton of momentum when I'm taking damage from these Tyranids here. So I'm already at 3 command points on turn 5 here, and I could be even higher if I wanted to. Now, I wouldn't recommend actually doing this against another player, but what you could do to farm momentum is you could set up, you know, a unit that you have some flamers here. You can set up some arcoflagellants over here, and you could end up buffing their health a little bit or give them a damage reduction, and you could flame through an enemy unit and have all that flame attack your arcoflagellants, because that should get them like 40, at least 40 momentum, potentially even more. And that's a pretty substantial momentum gain. So, you know, if you're, and then you could heal them in between there with a Hospitaller, and then you could flame through it, that unit again, assuming it hasn't been wiped out, and attack it, then you get another 40 momentum here. And those are pretty substantial momentum gains when the game is considering how many command points to give you, because, you know, getting 40 momentum is usually something pretty hard to do, especially because if you're, you know, killing this guy here, you know, you're getting 8 momentum per model kill. So getting 40 is a pretty substantial boon. The other thing is if you wanted to farm that experience, as well as you have the canonist nearby and you put a bunch of people around the canonist, and then as your like I said, you'd have to kill your own units in this case, but with her ability here, every unit within one tile of her, as long as she's within 5 tiles of a unit that's dying, that'll give all those units 10 momentum, and so you can get substantial momentum gains doing that as well. And then again, that'll dramatically push up your command points. So if you wanted to do some farming, that would definitely be the way to do it. Now with your command points here, you have 3 different abilities. Now usually when you're playing other factions, it'll be like a tier 1 ability, tier 2 ability, tier 3 ability, and so tier 1 will require 1 command point, tier 2 will require 2 command points, and as you probably guessed, tier 3 would require 3 command points. But now they've reworked how this works for the sisters, so all 3 of their abilities now require only 1 action point to activate. And the big thing that you need to take into consideration is the durations are different. So Divine Guidance is actually an excellent ability. It's a your traditional tier 1, seeing the weakness in the enemy's defenses, the Sisters of Battle within 2 tiles of the HQ commander strike with unerring accuracy, so that gives you plus 25 range, 10% critical hit chance, and it expires in 3 turns. So if we end up using that, you can see we have a pretty big area of effect. Now, unlike before where you could just drag it wherever you wanted, there is some area where you want to be near your HQ commander here, so you need to take into consideration whoever's going to be your unit here that you're going to use to trigger it. That will help. Now, interestingly, if I'm moving this far away, that's giving me a 4x4 circle, but if I put it onto where my Hotsplitter is, I'm getting a 7x7? That's gotta be a coding error. I think we might have just found a bug, because there's no reason why that should be the case. Yeah, well, this is 5x5, I guess, normally. Right? Yeah, 5x5. But if you put it on her, now it's, yeah, 7x7. So that's a huge buff. Let's see if these other ones do it too. The other one is Sororitas within 2 tiles of the commander are imbued with Boundless Font of Vigor plus 1 movement, and that lasts for 2 turns. This lasts for 3. And so, yeah, again, we have a 5x5. But if I put it on myself, then it's a 6x6. Wait. Yeah, something. Is that really how this is supposed to work? So I guess if you put it away from her, then it'll be 5x5, but you have to use it on yourself, it's 7x7. Well, that's good to know. So that substantially increases the effect here. And then, that's got to be a bug. I can't imagine that's really how it's intended to be. And then Righteous Judgment, the Battle Sisters within 2 tiles of the HQ commander are filled with burning passion, bringing the Emperor's judgment upon his enemies, and that gives you plus 15% damage when armor piercing, and that lasts for 2 turns. And so again, it's usually 5x5, but if you put it on here, yeah, it's 7x7. So interesting. And then the thing is you can stack these. So you can't necessarily stack multiple Divine Guidances, but let's say we put this on everybody. You can see the little yellow around them, so that's how you know the Divine Guidance is there, and that's the icon for it. But if we then use the, let's do damage here as well. So we'll put that on everybody. And so you see they also have that red glow. That's what that looks like. And then I'll end the turn, and then next time we'll use the movement here as well. So do I have guys that are available to attack? I guess you're able to attack. So now you can see even unaltered here, these guys have pretty significant chances to hit. Let's use the blessed ammo here and shoot here. Now you can kill one of those guys, so you can see they can really dish out quite a bit of damage here. Move you up.
to walk the righteous path.
Bring you over to here. Use some more blessed ammo and just finish these guys off, I guess. Move you up to here. We'll just keep advancing all of our guys. Bring you over to there. I suppose I could have used his ability to allow him to attack again.
Who needs my aid? Your festering soul will burn! Yes?
We are invincible.
I am really perplexed by this whole situation myself. I can't imagine we're supposed to get that bonus. Bonus casting distance if you use it on yourself. And if it is how it's supposed to be, it's a little annoying that they didn't specify that a little clearer. So as you can see, they're taking damage. I got them 19 momentum, and now they'll attack again. And we're gaining that momentum. And then that sound was the Canoness getting triggered. And so she would have given some momentum to the sister there. And now you can see that the Divine Guidance is still on, the Righteous Judgment is still there, and if we use the Emperor's Spirit, yeah, see, it's doing it again. Let's bring these guys over. Like so. And we'll cast this here. We'll increase the movement.
Who needs my aid?
We'll get you here. You'll put this on. And now you can see the blue icon here, which is the plus movement. And then I'm a little bit worried. Here's what I can do. Well, no, I'd rather put it on.
Yes.
All right. Let's get you here. We'll put you here. We'll get that going.
Go forth, sister. You are his will made flesh.
Oh, that's not going to work because... All right, how do I want to do this?
Your command?
Let's put you over here. Let's bring you here. I'll move these guys here. We'll surge here. Now she's lost her momentum.
As he wills it.
Really, that's the location I think I want to be on. Let's move you to here.
With haste.
Now let's use our Celestians. And if we flame here, we should be flaming both of these guys here. And so you can see we're doing damage. And now we just did 15 momentum gains here. Now it'd be even more if you had the Arcoflagellants over here. But as you can see, you can just kind of rotate these guys through and farm momentum doing these things here. Because, you know, now we just got these guys additional momentum, and you could get even more if you use that Divine Deliverance to start with, and you can start feeding her experience, because now you can see now she's close to being able to synergize, and then if you have her with an action point left, you could then empower, give 60 momentum to somebody else, and you can see how you can just start popping off using some of these little tricks here to really substantially increase your momentum gains. And that may actually be a very viable strategy while you're waiting for your guys to get into combat. You could start your match doing things like this, some little fuckery, and make some gains. So as you can see, they just got 36 doing that. And then you could have your Hospitaller just sit back and using the abilities, because as they're healing themselves, they gain or use the healing ability that gives them 20 momentum. So now you can start to see how early on, well, I guess you can't technically do it at the very start of the mission because it won't let you just actively select to attack yourself. You'd have to have an enemy unit next to you to trigger that friendly fire with the flamer. So I take that back. I guess that would be a little too crazy to be able to start your matches off like that. But as you can see, there's definitely some fuckery that you can do to really buff your momentum here, which will then allow you to set all your abilities off. And because they last 2 to 3 turns, that can be a substantial amount of damage that you're giving yourself to really allow your other units to become more powerful, especially as the other buffs are improving. You know, you're getting bonus HP, damage reductions. Some of those abilities give you bonus damage, and then you have your third tier, which will give you additional armor piercing and 15% damage, and you start throwing on, you know, the critical hit chance and the ranged accuracy. Now you can just see how things can totally pop off with the sisters. So as you can see, there's a lot of different finagling that you have to use with the momentum and the command point abilities, but once you get a good understanding of it, you can definitely use this to your advantage and really make these guys pop off like crazy. So I hope this is helpful and a good explanation to the command points and the momentum gains and function for the Adepta Sororitas now that they've been changed. So if this is helpful, please give my channel a like and subscribe to encourage me to post more content for you. Have a great day.